Trav is just concussing like 2 at a time, but there's still 98 more jumping on your back, and they're strong little Michael Mayers.
I'm going to get 20 of them before they even get there, dude. Like, think about it. Like, one kick, and you're punting at least 2 or 3 of those little bastards.
I'm going after that duck, man.
Where are you hitting the duck?
You could break a leg on a duck, giant chicken leg. I'm just going to go for him. That beak isn't going to be a problem, though.
It's going to be a problem. Not only that, he's going to go after you like it goes after like a worm or something, dude. I don't know, man. That scares the shit out of me.
It's true. The beak would be a problem, no doubt.
Sights and sounds and edges found. You will now get down with the Underground. That's right, baby. Dynasty Underground is back. I am Trav, hosting and West Coastin', as is customary, of course. We're just coming off the Combine. Super excited to get together with the boys for our post-Combine recap. We decided we're going to weave that into a post-Combine mock draft. And let me tell you, folks, Jax especially has been ready to record this episode since Saturday night pre-dinner time out here on the West Coast. And I know Joe has been in the lab most of the day today, grinding the numbers, watching the tape. So without further ado, the wise man bringing Mr. Miyagi, Jax on, Jax off takes. Jax Falcone, how you doing tonight, my man?
What's up, man? Ready to go. Super exciting stuff coming out the Combine. I mean, you know, lots to talk about, eh?
So much to talk about. Joe, corner office with the view, aka Joe Quavius Cuveticus, as he is known around these parts. How you doing, my man?
They call me Woody, and let's just say I'm aroused for this draft right now. Let's go.
Yeah. All right, Joe Quavius, let's get into it. Yeah, it's going to be a good one, guys. There's a lot of takeaways. I think it was fun to keep track of it. I missed little parts here and there of the Combine, but for the most part, I was pretty tuned in and having a great time while I watched it. Before we get into this draft, just want to let everybody know, check us out on that YouTube channel. We're always posted up on the Undroppables YouTube channel. Subscribe there, like, and leave a comment with what you thought on the video. Of course, subscribe to our other channel, Uncovered_NFL. The team is doing great work. Lots of real football mock drafts going up on the channel over there, getting some good views. Love to see it happening. Of course, at the Undroppables on social media, which is where you'll want to keep it dialed, because within the next week or so, we will be making our Discord community, which previously had been behind the paywall of our Patreon. We will be switching that over to a free Discord community, and we'll be sharing that out on the social media. So make sure you follow that, because we really want to get an influx of people in there, growing the brand, growing the community around it. And that is you. So please keep an eye on those social media platforms, because we've done that. We've changed the Patreon tiers as well. So go check all that stuff out. It's been fun. I did a bunch of work on the Patreon and the Discord today, fellas. I had the day off, and it was really nice to be in the lab doing that stuff, getting it wrapped up for the people, chatting with all of the people in the Discord. Good times. So
God bless Travis Seal.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Hey, it's fun, man. It's fun. We've been talking about building a community ever since we started the show, since before that, obviously, but now it's time for us to be about it. So yeah, it was good to get that done, and we got some good reception from the people so far, and hopefully we see more in there. So yeah, guys, we're doing this post-Combine mock draft. I'm not really going to hold us back any longer, because like we said, some great performances. I think for me, the running backs stole the show. Some pretty tough performances for some guys that we might have been hopeful for previous. And we're going to get into all of that on this show in the form of a post-Combine rookie mock draft. So this is going to be similar to the last one we did. It's a 12 team. We start 10 to 12, really depending. Those are super deep leagues. We're going to go 3 rounds today, though. Superflex and tight end premium, which are, of course, well, Superflex is a standard. Tight end premium is damn near creeping up on it, but a very prominent format out in the Dynasty.
We'll play PPR. We'll play PPR and 1.75 tight end premium. Does that sound okay?
Okay, that sounds good to me, Jax. That sounds good. I think the 3 of us are in one of those as well, so this is a good little litmus test for us. How do we decide to do it, guys? We decided we're going to go backwards draft order from last time. So that's going to be yours truly up first. We're still going to have a Kuvatakis sandwich, and then Jax is going to be on
Jaquavius.
the back end. What's that?
Woody.
A Joe
Jaquavius, which, by
Joe
the way,
Quavius.
I'm gonna change my my Discord name to Joquavius too. So a little Easter egg for the people.
There you go.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. Yeah, just a little moniker, which is something that we're excited about because as this show rolls on, we're going to have a ton of little things like that. And I think we've already started some pretty nice foundational work where that is concerned. But
For sure.
I am up at number one on this draft board, guys. And I think it's been the same as it's been all along with a bit of a, sub elite quarterback class, let's say. Ashton Genty has been the pick since the jump. Any debate there, fellas, on Ashton Genty at the 101? I would venture to say there's not.
Nope.
No, sir.
Okay, so I don't think we need to spend much more time on that one. No matter where he goes, he's going to be an incredible fantasy asset. So let's go to pick number 2, Joe Quavius. Let us know where you're going.
It's still Tet McMillan for me.
Hmm.
Did nothing to concern me, right? I'd say he's the safest prospect on the board in terms of wide receivers in a class where they are at a premium because there are so few of them that we can count on. I'm very happy to take Tet right here.
Jax,
So
any rebut for that?
totally. I've been saying lately that, how far do we think Tet is from Emeka Ekbuka? Like, if he's close, and we're taking Ibuka at like the 1.7 to 1.10, and if we also think that Tet McMillan is not the prospect that a lot of the wide receivers were from last year, and a lot of those wide receivers like Ladd and others, even Roma Dunze, were probably just as good a prospect as Tet. These types of prospects tend to be drafted late in the first round. Why is Tet worth the 102? This draft class isn't that bad, so I've been sort of thinking to myself that I'd rather just start taking the running backs right off the get, and that's what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to take Omari and Hampton. I think there's probably 4 running backs I'm just taking every single time ahead of Tet, unless there's some sort of need that I absolutely need a wide receiver or something like that, complete rebuild or something. But I just feel really, really good about these running backs and very, very happy to take Omarion at pick 3.
Yeah, I think that's nice. I think for Joe and I on the Tet side, Joe and I have all along been in the camp that there is still a bit of a gap between Tet and Egbuka. Joe, I don't want to speak for you or anything, but I think that's where I sit, and that's why Tet is still a little bit above Egbuka for me.
Yeah,
I actually I
100%.
I actually have Trey Harris as my wide receiver 2 in the class, fellas. So a little cat out of the bag there. We will be releasing some fulsome rookie rankings in the coming weeks, so stay tuned, everybody. And then, of course, that is pre-draft capital. But for my pick at number 4, I think I'm going to have to go with the insulated value, and I'm really tempted to take Ashton Genty here, in absence of being able to try to make a trade back, which is what I would probably do in this spot. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the guy who I have been waffling with Jackson Dart, as far as being the quarterback 1, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Cam Ward.
It's smart because right now I've been listening to some NFL pods, and really the NFL seems to think that Cam Ward is one level above the rest of these quarterbacks. Whether that ends up being true or not almost is immaterial at this time right now as we are drafting, because if Jackson Dart doesn't go in the first round, which I've seen some mocks with him not in the first round lately, like, prominent mocks. If that happens, then you're crazy to take Jackson Dart here, right? Whereas it's almost a lock that there's Cam Ward is going 1 or 2, or at least that's the scuttlebutt. So if that's the case, yeah, you can't pass on the value of the 1.01 in the NFL draft at pick 4. So I agree with you.
And I think in a dynasty league, that value insulation of the quarterback, like there comes a point where it's too much to pass up, right? And I think at pick number 4, to take the first quarterback off the board in a super flex league is really good value. And I think, Jax, I was listening to your John Lobb episode, and it was so interesting when the quarterback talk came up, because I've been kind of thinking Cam Ward or Jackson Dart for quarterback one. Was thinking about putting Jackson Dart. I think I talked about it last week on the show. Maybe it was off air, but talked about why isn't Jackson Dart just our quarterback one? Because I've been thinking about putting him there. Then John Lobb starts to talk about Cam Ward, and I'm like, okay, Cam Ward's got to be my quarterback one. He's like got some safety as well as some upside as one of those pocket passers. Then he talks about Jackson Dart and his potential to give you 500 rushing yards and 4 to 6 touchdowns. And I was like, okay, I'm back on team Jackson Dart. But I think that gap in draft capital is what made me go for Cam Ward here instead of Jackson Dart. Whereas if I think Jackson Dart's the one that I want, I would be trying to make that trade back from the
Of
fourth pick, because
course.
I think you could do that. But yeah, it's so interesting because I could see myself waffling one or two more times before I go into any more rookie drafts before I kind of like settle on that, right? And if
Yeah.
that gap is Jackson Dart in the top 15, like John Lobb was saying on that episode, then I think that gap for me in rookie drafts closes as well, where Jackson Dart's not making it past like pick 10.
Yeah. If in order for a quarterback in your rookie draft to have any value, he has to have a runway to playing time. Otherwise, he's a second round rookie pick. So because we don't know that information, you can't just put Jackson Dart where he is. If he goes seventh to the Jets or something, you're like, sure, go right ahead. And then you can take him
Mm-hmm.
as your QB1 if you think he's better. But until he gets that draft capital, or until it's a known commodity of draft capital, you just can't think about having him here. So that's just how it goes.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. I feel the exact same way. And I just want to preface this next week by saying if we knew QB landing spots and they were, let's say, all top 15 QBs, this pick would probably be a QB. I'm actually kind of stoked because I think Dart to the Raiders at 6 is becoming like close to a reality, and I'm getting kind of excited about it. But I'm not going to let myself go there yet. I'm going to stick to my priors. This guy didn't have the best combine, but I'm still taking Caleb Johnson.
Ooh.
I'm going to let my film analysis sort of win the day here. He weighed in at 224. He's 6 feet tall. Very healthy BMI, over 100 speed score. We didn't get to see him test on everything else, but I've seen enough on film. I think I made a joke that, when we were talking about his film the first time around, that my last note is I've seen enough next prospect, right? So you cannot get me off of Caleb Johnson, and I'm thrilled to get him right here.
Is it my turn? Yes. Okay.
It is.
So this was hard because now I was hoping that you'd take one of the other two guys and I was going to take the other one. And, the coin is in the air on Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson for me right now. And crazily enough, given the idea that he can probably just, boy, oh boy, I really want to take Judkins right here.
I know it. I knew it. Yes. Welcome. Come. It's that
Wow.
Simpsons meme. We've been waiting for you.
Yeah, with
All
the
right.
with the explosion and the 3 down purpose and goal line and everything, and probably maybe even better draft capital. I don't know. I love them both. I don't know what to do.
Can I interject right here?
Please.
Last week we said, we were talking about guys we're excited about seeing, and one of my top guys was Quinshon Judkins. The perception was that he's not fast, and I said I disagree. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about Judkins versus Henderson, and me and Trevor were like, I don't know, dude. This guy looks more explosive to me. Sure enough, he's more explosive. Film did not lie. You can see it on the tape, dude. This guy's awesome. Do it, Jax. Do it. Do it.
Quinshon Judkins.
Yes.
You notice I was really quiet during all of that conversation there, right? Because I really, really wanted you to leave me Quinshon Judkins because he is one of my heartthrobs from this draft, but alas, you didn't. Alas, you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Man,
It's
oh, man,
close.
oh, man.
I last week I had Travion as RB2. I'm still happy to draft Travion. I could have drafted him there. And, you guys have been around me now, a few of these mock drafts where you've seen me go in different directions. On the Sonic Truth one, I went in different directions. And I think you're trying to figure it out. It's not like, this is the guy, forget about it. Especially when you're trying to parse between two great backs. Like, I still think the top 5 is a tier for me. Genty, Hampton,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Judkins, Caleb, and Travion. That's a top 5 tier. Lock it in. those are the 5 prizes, and I think Trav, that's the pick for me is Travion next for sure, but you do whatever you think you need to do.
Yeah, well, I'm kinda waffling between the shelf life of that running back versus the shelf life of another one of these
Mm,
quarterbacks, right? If don't forget that these are independent teams, so I wouldn't be adding a second quarterback to my Cam Ward
true
pick
that.
here by taking this pick, and I think I might go that way, and I think I'm gonna go out on the limb with that draft capital, and I am taking him. His name's fucking Dart, bro. Jackson Dart. I'm
I
doing it.
love
I'm
you.
doing it because, like, even if he goes at the back of the first round, top of the second, I think regardless, that's gonna get him playing time because I don't think he actually makes it out of the first round by the time the draft hits, right? Have a hard time seeing 2 quarterbacks going in the first round. Not to mention another team maybe trading up into that back of the first round to get that fifth-year option on a quarterback who they see being the starter, and so I think even if that were the case, I still think Jackson Dart with the difference in, say, um, opportunity to maintain that starting job that he would have with a Shadur Sanders, I think Jackson Dart still presents much bigger upside and similar avenues to fail for both of these guys too. So I think Jackson Dart's easily the pick there because that upside does present that potential with a little bit of rushing on top. So spark them up, guys. We're hacking darts.
I love it. I love it. I'm also upset because I was gonna take Dart. And so I think I'm gonna just do the right thing here and take the next QB on the board in Shador. It seems like he's kind of losing a little bit of steam after the combine. Maybe it's because Jackson is getting
It's
closer
happening.
and moving up the ranks. So I don't know. I've been hearing a lot of scuttlebutt, not all of it positive about Shador. I said I don't know as recently as a week ago that Shador's probably my number one, and I don't know. I'm waffling. I'm waffling. This position is so hard. I know I'd rather have Dart though and wait for him. So we'll see what where his draft capital shakes out and where he lands. But you got to take Shador here. You got to still assume he's going to be a top 6 or 7 pick as well. And it's as simple as that. I'm not excited about it, but it's how it's actually going to go down.
It's pretty incredible. I'm looking at my rankings right now, and I have Ashton Genty, and then the second ranked player is Travion Henderson. And somehow I've picked twice, and I haven't picked my second ranked player. So that's very strange. So I have to and must take Travion Henderson. I actually have it, Genty, Henderson, Omarion Hampton, and Quinshawn Judkins, my top 4 players in the draft right now. If I were ranking, I just think those 4 guys now coming out of the combine are like for sure can't miss running backs that are going to be drafted with purpose and given opportunities right out the gate. I just can't see it any other way. This is a this is actually a transformative running back class. We know that now. We know that Judkins is that explosive. The film guys love him. So those 4 players are just so dope. I have 3 of them, and I'm picking, at what am I at? The 109. God bless it.
Mhm.
I love it.
And I think that's the impact of the quarterbacks getting pushed back into that middle of the round instead of up in the top of the round is what's happening there. And I think it's going to look nice for some of these rookie drafts, guys. Like I'm in a rookie draft right now that just started this morning. Oh, it's nice. I'm on the clock actually with the 105, and I'm trying to figure out what to do.
By the way, you had
Try
a funny
trying
you
to
had a
move it
funny
back.
you had a funny trade about moving it back, didn't you? You asked you were trying to get like Chase Brown in the 108, and the guy countered with Michael Mayer in the 108,
Yeah.
and you asked me what I thought, and I said 100 Michael Mayers and the 108 won't get me to do the 105, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what question did Joe ask? I believe it was.
Joe
Well, my mind immediately went to the horse-sized duck, and I was like, "Would you rather?
so
would you
so
rather?
Joe asked
Would
me, yeah.
yeah, yeah? You go ahead. You go
Go
ahead."
ahead, because he's having a hard time spitting it out. Joe asked me, would you rather fight a Michael Mayer-sized duck or 100 duck-sized Michael Mayers? And I thought that was a very, very tough question. I'm not sure which one, but I'm on
See,
opposite sides of you guys.
yeah, so Joe and I were in lockstep here that it's absolutely the 100 duck-sized Michael Mayers because you could just punt them all, step on them, use some good footwork and some side to side motion and stay away from them. Jax, I think, is severely underestimating the impact of that massive bill. And he is choosing to go against the Michael Mayer sized duck,
Yeah,
who I think is somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 foot something and 250
yeah,
pounds.
yeah.
So
It's a big
think
duck.
about that. And
which
listeners,
can
please
presumably
comment.
Yeah.
it can
Comment with what you would choose.
it can
Please comment.
presumably fly and swim. So I mean, like, you better hope this fight is on the ground, or you are in trouble,
Once you
right?
mentioned the flying part, I was like, I may have bitten off a little more than I can chew here with this 245-pound duck. The duck outweighs me. I mean, I wouldn't want to fight a regular duck, never mind, but 100 like mini Michael Mayers. I mean, he is a NFL tight end. Like he's rocked up. And how much does a duck weigh? Like, what's a duck?
I don't know, like, I don't know, 7 pounds maybe,
Seven,
Yeah,
if
seven
maybe.
that.
pounds or
Not even,
something. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. All right. So
yeah.
maybe you're right. I mean, if
It's
they're
all
that
feathers,
small,
dude.
it's
It's
a
all
lot of
feathers.
feathers. Yeah, it's a lot of feathers. It's a good point.
uh, Not only that, but that answers your question though, Trav, which is you'd rather fight 100 duck-sized Michael Mayers, which means it's not enough to move back to the 108.
Correct. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. Yes, absolutely.
You're
So
gonna
we're
need
going
more.
back to
You're
that.
gonna need more.
We have not
Yeah.
gotten through the first round, guys. We are way off the fucking rails.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. No, that's on the
Yeah.
rails. That is what the Dynasty
Nobody is
Underground is all about.
surprised. Yeah, nobody is
No,
surprised either.
that's what it
Yes.
is, baby.
Shout out to the listeners. We love you. We've been hearing good things back about the show. Keep telling us because it keeps making us feel good.
Yes.
So I appreciate you guys filibustering a little bit about the Ducks there because it helped me kind of land on where I'm going. And this might be a little bit controversial, fellas, but I'm going to go with the tight
Michael Mayer.
end one
Yeah.
in this draft, not Tyler Warren. I am going with Colston Loveland.
It's a good pick.
Woo!
I
I
think his
love that.
upside is very similar to that of Tyler Warren. I think there's a lot untapped that we haven't necessarily seen out of him, even at the college level just yet. And he's getting projected to go in that mid to late first round. And I think what that does is that puts him on a much better offense than we're going to see Tyler Warren go into. And for that reason, I think Colston Loveland, while we're ready to wait on tight ends still, could have some fairly solid early production for us fantasy gamers. And with a 1.75 tight end premium, that position is where I was going for this pick. But what do you guys think about Loveland over Warren here?
Go ahead, Joe.
I got no qualms with it. I think it's a very deep tight end class, like we've talked about. I don't think it's, I think there's a top two tier at this stage, but they're in a tier. So moving within that tier is fine. Um, I guess from a game theory standpoint, well, no, because this is its own individual team. Never mind. I was thinking about it for you. You might be able to get him with your next pick, but that's not how this draft is actually working. So it's perfectly fine getting your guy. And I think Loveland is a very nice move tight end who I think can do other stuff. We've seen him post very impressive dominator ratings at a program, that didn't even throw that ball. Well, didn't throw the ball that much. I guess that's how you post a great dominator rating. Never mind. Forget all that. I'm happy with the Loveland pick. Go ahead, Jax.
Hey, I was going to answer the unasked question, but I know that the listeners are asking it right now, which is, isn't this kind of late for the tight end one in a tight end premium draft? And you could say so. I think it might be, but at the end of the day, it's still super flex. The quarterbacks are the quarterbacks. If they all get top 10, 15 capital, I'd rather have the quarterbacks. And I think I'm speaking to the elite level of these running backs. And I'm not that sure that Loveland and Warren are elite level tight ends. They're the best tight ends in this draft, those two guys, for sure, in my opinion. But elite, it's hard to pin that down. It's so hard
Yeah.
for us to know when the elite tight ends are coming out of the draft. I mean, who didn't think Kyle Pitts was that? I mean, Kyle Pitts was talked about as the 1.01. Everybody loved Dalton Kincaid, a couple years ago. I mean, it happens every single year. Michael Mayer, 100 Michael Mayers would have gone 101 for sure. But it's true. He was the same thing. He was the tight end one in his class. So every year it seems like we think we know what we're talking about at the tight end position and don't. We don't really miss that much at any other position in the first round. So for me, I'm okay fading it and just taking shots late, which I think will be illustrated with a lot of the picks that I make coming up soon. Because I think if you're flipping coins, you might as well flip them into the tight end 1.75 bucket. But if you're taking an early first round pick, you really want to make sure you're nailing the pick, not trying to pick to the point settings. So that's my answer to that question.
Exactly. Exactly. And, I think in our last mock draft, I did not take a tight end in the first round. And right here, it's probably the pick that consensus would say, but I'm still not doing it just because I'm one of the many, many unfortunate people that got burned by Kyle Pitts. I did get me some Brock Bowers, but he was almost the exception that proves the rule. And I'm not doing it here. I'm going to go with the guy who's still my wide receiver 2 in this class, and that's Luther Burden.
Wow.
Uh, I'm happy to do it. I thought he had a very strong combine. Hang on, let's pull up his combine numbers real quick. We've already talked about his stats and how he did on the threshold test.
Jax
He
is just
also
jacksterbating here.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also posted a 4.41 at 206 pounds. That's good for 100 and almost 109 speed score at 6 feet tall. What did we say last week? You want guys as close to 6 feet tall and 200 pounds as possible. This guy's 6 feet on the nose, 206 pounds, 4.41. I'm still very excited about Luther Burden. I think he's going to be a mid first round pick still, and I'm thrilled to take him here.
Tyler Warren.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
not where I thought you were gonna
Yeah,
go.
no, give me Tyler Warren. I mean, I love Tyler Warren. He's, right there with Colson Loveland. I have Colson Loveland ranked one spot ahead of Tyler Warren as a basically what is it? What is it when what the hell am I saying? Like a statement pick, a statement
Ah,
ranking. I'm
it,
Oh,
making a
yeah,
statement.
the statement
Thank you.
ranking, yeah,
It's late. What am I doing? A
I feel
statement
you.
ranking. And so it's just a statement. I mean, I just think they're close enough. And so having Loveland ahead of Warren is not really like a take. It's more that I think they're in the same tier, and ranking him ahead of him is sort of like making a point. But I love Tyler Warren. Certainly getting him here at a tight end premium, you'd be jumping up and down, especially if you were the championship team. You just added maybe the tight end one, maybe a top 5 tight end, with that pick in a tight end premium. This is almost feels like cheating.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, you're laughing about that one. We go from your statement ranking to my statement ranking, Jax, and your wide receiver 1 is still on the board here, but I'm actually gonna forgo him, and I'm gonna take my wide receiver 2, who I have over Emeka Egbuka, and that is our guy, Trey Harris. He's my wide receiver too, guys. He had a good showing. 4.54 is not bad at all for his size. Joe, I'm looking at your beautiful little combine numbers sheet that you so graciously shared with me. And Trey Harris, if I could find him, I'm the worst at picking shit out of
Line
a
28.
spreadsheet. I'll
Line
admit so.
28.
Perfect. Yes, yes. Okay, burst score of 127.95. Speed score was 96.5. What's our threshold that we like for that, Joe?
Doesn't really
Speed
matter at
score
wide
doesn't
receiver.
really matter as long as the wide receiver's not running a 4.7. We don't really care
Yeah.
unless they're really small, which he is not. He weighed in at 205 pounds, so 4.5 is
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
And
It's
this is what
fine.
we expected, right? We knew he maybe wasn't going to be testing as a burning athlete. We kind of talked about those long strides. Joe, you talked about the fact that he always has a cushion, so we maybe haven't necessarily seen some of that stuff. So I think what he did was just kind of cement our previous notion about him. He didn't necessarily rise off of that, which I was kind of hoping. Like if we saw under a 4 or 5 from him to the fucking moon, we didn't. So he's still, getting out of the atmosphere, but maybe not necessarily up on the moon just yet. But when he gets put into an NFL offense, I think that's an absolute possibility. So Trey Harris at the 201 is a great pick in my book. And I think this is the fun part of the draft where some of these quarterbacks and some of these running backs have pushed some of these other fun guys that we like in these second and third tiers back. So, Joe, you're up, fella.
First of all, I'm really proud of us that right after the combine, we are not letting the numbers get to us too much. And we are sticking to some of our priors and our analysis because it's such a mistake to overrate the combine. And I don't think we've really done that at all yet. So, great job. Great pick. I'm not going to let Jax get his guy twice in a row,
Mm,
or 3 times in a row, I should say. I'm taking a Mecca right here. He should be a first round pick. Who we
yeah.
kidding?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't really think I need to say anything else. Like, he's probably him and Tet, in my opinion, are the two safest picks in this wide receiver class that they're going to retain value. They're going to carve out a role, and I'm very happy with both of them. To Jax's earlier point about me taking Tet at 1.02, and now I just got Egbuka at 2.02. I think your theory kind of holds true there, that you could just hold off and draft a wide receiver later and just hammer those running backs early. So that's that proved to be true in this draft here, Jax. But if I'm team 2, I'm pretty stoked that I just got 2 of the top 3 wide receivers in this class.
To me, this feels like a tier break. To me, the 202. I've been doing a lot of mock drafts like on Sleeper and stuff, and there's another player that sometimes you can, that will push one of these guys down. I don't know what his name is. I don't know what position he plays, but there's a guy. I've heard of him, never heard of him. But other than him, after this 202, it feels like a tier break, right? Other than
Yeah.
the guy I've never heard of that I might be picking here, that I might not be picking here,
He's
other
an
than him,
elephant, right?
he's an
Yeah.
elephant, but I
He's got
don't
a
know
huge
anything
trunk.
about him. Never heard of him. Don't know what he does. But seriously, it feels like a tier break. And it's like, because if you go running back, it's the second tier. It's not those
Mhm.
top 5 elite. The wide receivers, I think Burden would be the guy I'd have in this hinge point for me. But nonetheless, these are the 4 wide receivers I feel like. Now, there's a bunch of wide receivers that other people are going to love, like Elikai Minor and certainly Matthew Golden. I think Matthew Golden, when it all's said and done, is going to be in the first round of all
Mm-hmm.
rookie drafts. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
think. I
Yep,
think
I
he
agree.
elevates past all this and is drafted ahead of Luther Burden, is drafted ahead of Trey Harris, and he's going to be in your first round. Why are we so resistant to Matthew Golden? Well, it comes down to the numbers. Really, what we are looking at, Matthew Golden does not show himself as a analytically as a wide receiver who we should be taking in the first round. That doesn't mean that he can't be an outlier. The film guys love him. He ran a fucking 4.30, which brings me to my comp for Matthew Golden. Henry Ruggs.
Mm.
Ooh. Are we allowed to
Henry
pull that one out?
Ruggs.
Or like, are we? Is it kosher?
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. As the
Okay.
player, not the driver. I don't think they drive similarly. I think. Listen, I mean it. They're both super athletic, underperforming players where film guys loved them. People love the way that there's Matthew Golden plays. People love the way that Henry Ruggs played. And I thought, someone said that. I remember I got into an argument with who's the Denver guy. Whatever, it doesn't matter. He was like, Henry Ruggs is an elite prospect, and I was like, do you mean for the NFL or for fantasy? And he's like, I only talk about NFL. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because maybe Henry Ruggs was an elite NFL asset, but he was never going to be an elite fantasy asset. And I think there may be some of that here with Matthew Golden. Look, maybe he turns out, but for me, I'm off Matthew Golden here. I'm filibustering, but I thought it was a good topic here because I really think that, when you're trading into tiers, now a lot of things can change. And I think there is a player here that's going to go in the first round that I like. I can't believe I'm taking him ahead of another player, but I'm going to. And I'm going to take tight end Elijah Arroyo right here. I,
Ooh.
I do think he's I do think he's going to get first round capital. He's big, fast, seam ripper, and I
NFL draft?
love he's going to get in the first round of the NFL draft.
Of the NFL draft. Oh,
I
that
do.
is a steamy one.
I think he's going to be a first round pick. And it's really hard to turn away from a 6'4.5", 250-pound dude who runs like the wind, who the film guys love. Hey, I picked him. There you go. What are you gonna do about it?
Smooth catches in stride. Just like
That
looks
felt good.
good in the open field. I know.
People are
Doesn't it?
wondering what's
Doesn't it?
going on. Like, is that Jack? That's Jax? That's him.
No,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I've seen the
If
show.
that
Why is that?
pays off, if that
I,
pays
I
off in this league, it pays off fat with a PH.
Mm-hmm.
well, what we're really saying here is athleticism matters at the tight end position. And the guy who Jax has been touting, uh, did not test well enough. Everybody would have expected this to be Fannin. He did not test well enough. Now, granted, Arroyo didn't test, but we already know he's athletic. We'll see what he does at his
Yeah.
pro day. But I mean, that's what it comes down to. That's how important athleticism is at this position, right?
Yeah.
So I'm good with it. I like it. I wish I had never flip flopped because I should have just stuck with the Arroyo from the get go. Damn you, Jax, being so convincing 3 weeks ago.
That's what
you and
this
your
is all about, man. It's
you and
like
your zebra scores
throwing
BS.
takes at each other until you figure it out. Because what's my old saying? Ready to be wrong. Like
Yep.
I'm ready to be wrong about that pick that I just made. But sometimes you're just trying to figure it out. Don't always think, well, if I go to Arroyo, it means I was wrong about Fannin. Who gives a fuck if I was wrong about Fannin? Like,
Mhm.
really, who cares? I just want to be right when the money's on the table. That's the only
Yep.
time I want to be right.
Yep. I love
Yep.
that. Well said.
All right.
So
Is it your pick? It's your pick. Yeah.
it's
It
my
is.
pick.
Wow, this is
Sorry, I
exciting.
was
Steal
ready.
my
I was ready to
thunder.
pick. I
Trying
was
to
ready to
I'm
steal
ready
pick.
my
to pick
thunder
again
here,
too.
Joe,
I
huh?
want to pick.
So this
Don't
is
fuck
like
up
the
because I know who I'm
range.
taking.
This is the range where the elephant of the underground starts to come into play, right? I
Woo!
think like it's so tantalizing. It's because that tier
Yes.
break is there. That tier break is there hard. And if you're
Yes.
looking, I love that Arroyo pick too, because I think he is that tier break if we include this format at a 1.75 tight end. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Smart.
Travis Hunter. Travis
Yep.
Hunter. On the off,
Yep.
like on the chance that he plays wide receiver, this pick is going to be the most valuable rookie pick that maybe was ever made.
Yes.
So at the 204, I'm going to take the chance on the fact that he is a cornerback for the upside that he is a wide receiver. Because I think like if we look at your Arroyo pick, if that pays off, Jax, it's paying off huge at the 203. And if it doesn't, then okay, he's a tight end that flamed out with your second round pick. Similar things, Travis Hunter, maybe
Yep.
on a larger scale because that ceiling is much different as a wide receiver. I like it. I like it. I think this team, sink or swim with Cam Ward and Travis Hunter, but I'm just betting on the fact that this one's going to swim.
Love it.
I like that pick here too. I've heard multiple people talk about Travis Hunter as a wide receiver, like stylistic comp, and they've been comping him to Justin Jefferson. So that's real high praise. That includes guys like Matt Harmon, who know what the hell they're talking about when they're watching wide receiver film. So I'm great with that pick.
One more thing on that too, just that I heard while I was watching the combine, if I could. Travis Hunter himself, saw him doing one of the 6 million interviews that he had to do talking about the position that he played. Apparently, the combine decided to list him as a cornerback, and him and his team found out when he saw the news, and they contacted them to rectify it. And I guess that's when we heard him speaking about doing wide receiver drills or something like that.
Interesting.
Well, so I think the combine selected him as a corner and he didn't necessarily have a hand in that, which I think was
Wow.
interesting because that was huge news, right? That was huge, including for us.
Well,
Yeah,
So
let's
carry on,
just
Joe.
absolutely.
Sorry.
let's just say that if I hear of a player that sounds like the profile of someone like Travis Hunter, but he's going to play wide receiver, I would probably take him very, very early in the first round, just for the
Yeah,
record. Yeah.
100%.
All right. Well, Trav, you left me my guy.
Who's that?
He did. We've joked that he's been training for the 40 since the Senior Bowl. He still didn't run it. He's still training for his 40-yard dash.
Oh boy.
He's gonna wait till his pro day, but he did give us a little something, and
Oh
he
boy.
posted a burst score of 128.
Nice.
I love
I'm
this
gonna
Oh,
pick.
go.
yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and take my RB6 in the class. There's a tier break after that top 5, but at the top of my next 5 is one Mr. Cameron Scataboo.
Yes.
Scatabo.
It's got a bow. I
Wow.
like it.
Just so you know, I'm looking at my rankings right now, and Cam Scataboo is right there with one other player who I'll take next. But I was throwing the coin in the air for one other player and Cam Scataboo just to make you feel better about your pick. Dude, he answered the bell, right? Now,
Yep.
even if he
Yep.
runs a 4.62, it's like whatever, he's 220 pounds and he's got explosion. and he's got
Yes.
tackle breaking, and he's
Yes.
got pass catching chops, and people love him, and he might go in the third or second round. God bless,
Who saw a 39.5-inch vertical coming? Not me.
That's
Not
nutty.
me.
He's short
That's
too. Like
I
that.
love it.
oh,
Fucking
dude,
awesome.
I'm loving him more and more. Like, we'll see what this speed score ends up being as pro day. I don't really even care anymore because he caught what 39 passes or something
Yeah,
last year,
something like
something
that.
crazy. He can catch. He's explosive. He's a patient runner. He waits for lanes to open. Like and the coaches are gonna love this guy. He's gonna play. He's gonna play early, and he's gonna be fun as hell.
Yeah, man. Gives off real Rex Burkhead vibes, hey?
I'm sticking with
Oh,
Le'Veon Bell. Damn it.
that's so good.
You're up, Mr. Falcone.
He's
I
on his
am.
heels. I can see it. I can see it on
Yeah,
his
I can see
face.
it too. I
Jackson's
can
on
see
his
it
heels
too.
right now. He wanted Scatterboo so bad just now.
I was going to take Scatterboo mainly because I don't know if everybody else would be taking my guy, but I'm going to take my guy. This is a running back draft. I keep drafting running backs. I'm going to draft another running back because they're awesome. And I believe RJ Harvey is awesome. I,
Yes.
I love RJ Harvey. I think he
Mhm.
had a great combine. I mean, this is a guy that we were basically praying that he would destroy the combine, and destroy the combine he did. He
Yep.
showed up and he, what did he weigh in? I'm looking it up right now here, real quick. He was 5'8, 205 pounds, which is
Mhm.
good for a 31.2 BMI. We just want to see north of 30 or around 30, but
Mhm.
north of 30, he is put together. He's basically the same size as Ashton Genty, and he ripped it. He was an athlete. He ran a 4.4 flat, which is 110 basically speed score. He jumped out of the gym with 128 burst score. I don't remember what it
Yep.
was. You probably have it in front of you.
128.1, just below Cam Scatterbo.
Exactly. But Cam Scatterbo ain't running no 4.4. I
Nope.
love Cam
Nope.
Scatterbo.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
RJ Harvey was, 2.65 yards per team play for his offense. He had those rippers. He was a 12.2 career 15-yard run rate, um, making guys miss the second level, pass catching upside, 1.44 yards per route run in his career, killed the combine. Look, if someone doesn't draft him in the third round, it's criminal. So if this pick looks silly down the road, I don't think it's my fault. It's the NFL's fault, dude. Draft this guy with purpose, put him on the field, and you can't go wrong. I'm all in on RJ Harvey.
I'm 100% with you. I love that pick. I've got him more or less in the same range, and it just so happens right before we started recording this podcast, I did my RJ Harvey film notes.
Mm,
First of all, 25 TDs this year, which is awesome,
right.
1,500 yards. I'm not going to give you all the dope touchdown plays that he was involved in. I'm just going to give you some of my general notes on him. Violent runner, good footwork, lateral movement is very good. Makes first guy miss, often sheds the first tackler. That, and what I mean by that is the guy that actually gets his hands on him. Good vision, very strong cutter, very fluid receiver, very natural receiver. I have like 5 different receiver notes because he made some dope catches. I love RJ Harvey. I'm finally got around to his film, and he can probably keep rising in my rankings. I love this pick right here, right in line with where I've got him.
And here's the thing, like people are like, oh, he didn't, he played at, Central Florida, he didn't play anybody. At TCU, he goes for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Against Colorado, he was okay, 77 yards, 5 yards a carry. Florida, 75 yards and a touchdown. Played Iowa State. Are they any good? I don't know. 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. BYU, whatever. Arizona, 184 and 3. Arizona State, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns. West Virginia, I mean, he just dominated everybody. Like you look
In
up and
that
down.
Colorado, yeah,
Yeah.
in that Colorado game, he had a 70-yard receiving touchdown on a wheel route too, right? That's one of those plays I was talking about, right? It was
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. He's awesome.
Uh, he had this. You mentioned the Arizona game too. Here's one of my notes from the Arizona game: TD run from 12 yards out, very slick run out of the shotgun, B gap, makes the first 2 tacklers miss on a run blitz, splits 2 more defenders, pretty well blocked. In the second level, nobody left to tackle him. Defense gambled with the run blitz, and he made him pay.
Yep. He's awesome.
He was just so fun to watch, and I watched him right after somebody else we're going to talk about later, and the difference was night and day.
Okay, guys. In this house, we've got room for multiple. Okay, we talked about it last week, guys. The main bedroom in this house is reserved for one Trey Harris. I already locked him up on my 101 team alongside Ashton Genty. This is my 107 team. I picked up Jackson Dart in the first round, and I'm coming back around in the second to dip back into the wide receiver pool for a wide receiver that showed
Ooh,
out at the combine, has his own room in this house. And in this house at the 207, we draft Jaden Higgins from
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
like it.
Incredible size speed combination as displayed at the combine. 4.4 740. I don't have all of his numbers in front of me because I am excited to make this pick, but they were good. He was incredible for a man the size that he is. And I think he has, top 24 dynasty wide receiver, at least in his future, if not top 16, top 18. So I am all
I
about
heard
Jaden Higgins.
hey, I heard a prominent NFL pod, not a fantasy pod, NFL pod,
Mhm.
talking about they were talking about someone early in the draft, and they were talking about Tet McMillan, and they basically said, "Well, would you rather just pass on Tet and get Tet light in the second round in Jaden Higgins?" They
100%.
were talking about Jaden Higgins as being, 90% Tet at 50% the cost, and I thought that was pretty interesting that they were
Probably more
very
versatile
NFL.
too.
Yep,
Probably more versatile. He played more slot than Tet.
true.
His yards after the catch wasn't that great. He had one
No,
good year. Last year was not very good, but I think he's shown that he can do that. And I mean, for a man his size, you're not really expecting him to be kind of that slot maven, getting 70% of his yards after the catch. So I think what he does there is adequate.
Super interesting you bring that up. They have identical career targets per route run numbers at 0.24. They have identical career yards per route run numbers at 2.37.
yeah.
So I hadn't even thought about the comp because they don't stylistically remind me of each other too much.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, from a fantasy production standpoint, Higgins was a 17.2, Tet's at 19.3. So yeah, it's discount from that standpoint. And the targets and yards per outrun numbers are an interesting thing to zoom in on.
And that could hold true in these rookie drafts too, guys, right? Like you could wait on Tet, say he's available in like a 104 area, and you're coming back around at the 204, and you think Jaden Higgins might be there. I would be okay with taking him up in that kind of top third of the second round just for the upside that he presents. And so not only does it hold true in the NFL draft, it holds true in these drafts as well, where you could take something more beneficial for your team in that first round and get that alpha in the second.
Well, we've
Yeah.
talked about trying to only draft wide receivers that are taken in the top 50 picks. And I think so far we've drafted only wide receivers that have a chance at going in the top 50. I think Jaden Higgins possibly could be not a top 50 pick, but I think for the most part we've done that so far. And there's a few more for sure that still will likely go in the top 50. I'm not sure if Mr. Jaquavius will be taking one or not.
I'm not. Right here, there's only one man I want to talk to. I want to talk to Samson. Well, half baked reference for the people.
Shout out to Half Bake Samson.
Dylan Sampson. Listen, if you watch his film, you can see it right from the jump. This dude is different. He runs different. I'd say from his skill set standpoint, he's probably close to the guys that we have in this top five. Maybe he would have benefited from another year, but he came out early. And he was behind Jalen Wright last year. So we don't have like a huge sample, but it's evident. He jumps off the screen when you're watching his film. And this is a 100% film grade. I like what I see in Samson. There's some stuff he does that's going to annoy coaches, but there's so much other stuff that is just like, whoa. like the way Omari and Hampton is kind of different when you watch his film. That's or we don't even need to talk about Genty, but like he's kind of in that phylum of what am I watching here? I'm pretty sure it's awesome.
I think that's interesting because I think with some of the other running backs who did work out at the combine, I think in some of our real drafts, we might see some of these other guys go before Dylan Sampson because Dylan Sampson might be a little bit more unknown to some of our league mates. But I like that pick because that speed is going to be fun. And we see these kind of running back rooms where that change of pace guy is usually the upside guy. And I think Sampson could absolutely be that at the next level.
Yeah, and he hit that 200-pound threshold that we want to see right on the
Mhm.
nose. Incidentally, he didn't run, probably because he was like eating a bunch of burgers before the combine just to weigh in at 200. So the reality is he's probably going to play at less than 200 pounds, and
He had
he's
to take a
probably
shit.
waiting until his pro day to run since he weighed in at the combine. But I'm guessing the pro day is going to be really fast.
Yeah. Didn't want to shit himself while he was running the 40.
Yeah. I'm getting A Chain vibes, guys. I'm getting A
Hmm,
Chain vibes.
Ooh.
interesting.
Yes, I think you're up, fella, are you?
Ugh. There's so many players. I don't know what to do. It's like I would talk about it right here, I guess. I mean, Alec Ayamanor, Matthew Golden, NFL loves them. They're in this tier. They're types of players. I really like Ayamanor. Golden, not as much. There's another wide receiver or two I really like. There's a group of running backs. This is a tough spot.
Mhm.
It really is because like if I knew where some of these running backs were landing, I'd feel a lot better. That's kind of the trouble is like I think the combine showed us that some of these running backs, the top 5 for sure, are landing with purpose. Had Ollie Gordon run a 4.48, he was landing with purpose, but he
Mhm.
didn't, so it's kind of like he's a little bit of a question mark. I heard someone call Ollie Gordon like 80 or 90% Najee Harris. And I was like, well, we don't really like that or very much. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, that's not so exciting. I mean, it's fine. Maybe if he finds his way onto the
Naj.
field,
He's Naj. Doesn't have
you
a double
know,
E on the end.
but it's like, I'm going to take a guy. I'm going to do this. I believe that Jalen Noel is going to get
Great.
drafted in the top 50. I think there's a chance he goes in the first round. Everybody that I've talked to, Thor Nystrom, John Lobb this past show, everybody thinks he's going to be a starting slot receiver for a very long time, is
Mhm.
their words, not mine. They've been saying this over and over again. I turned on the film and the guy just fucking flew off the page. I was like, holy smokes. He goes to the combine and completely dominates. Joe, please tell the people, if you have it in front of you, what Jalen Noel did at the combine because he was absolutely dope. I love his tape. I'm taking Jalen Noel.
He weighed in at 194. He
Perfect.
ran a 4.39. That's good
Yeah.
for a 104 speed score. His vertical, 41 and a half. His broad, 132 inches. You got to convert that. Give me just a second. That's 11 feet.
Right.
Mhm.
So that's
Crazy.
good for a burst score of 136. So
Yes.
he had the highest burst score in the class at the wide receiver position. He's close to, he's 5'10, 194. We said 6 feet, around 200. I
Isn't
mean,
that crazy though,
it's
Joe?
close enough.
Hey, isn't that crazy, Joe? Last week before the show, we're like, dude, this guy's fucking bursting off the line. We're like, this guy, and what does he do? He goes and is the number one guy in burst. We're like,
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
when the film matches, we're not counting it twice, but the fact that that wasn't a deception, that was real, he's real. He can
Yeah.
really fly off the
Yeah.
line. Like, and at 200 pounds, he's big enough to withstand contact. I love
Yeah.
Jalen Noel, man. I am super stoked about him. And who knows what I'm getting here? Maybe I'm getting Burden Egbuka type player, but in the late second. I love it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He clear winner at the position as far as Senior Bowl wide receivers, and that included his teammate Higgins.
Yeah.
And we talked, for the people that didn't listen last week, what you're referencing is we talked about how we were watching the Higgins film, and we couldn't stop looking at independently. We could not stop looking at number 13 on Iowa State and how dope that guy looked. While we were
Yeah.
trying to watch Higgins, we kept getting distracted by Jalen Noel making
Mhm.
plays and looking awesome. So I'm
Yes.
good with it. I don't think this is how real drafts are going to go
No.
based on
Correct.
NFL draft capital. But you know what? Like I said earlier, I'm proud of us. We're sticking to our priors, what our analysis has been telling us thus far. And I'm also filibustering a little bit because I don't know who I'm
It's
going to
my
take
pick.
right now.
Well, it's
Oh,
good. You
good.
get one
Oh,
pick
good.
to
You
decide.
keep
So
trying, brother. You keep trying. Um, yeah. Yeah. No, I think
there's so many
that
players.
was pretty well said how this isn't going to be like most drafts that people are seeing. And I think what how people can translate this into their drafts is they can see how high we'd be willing to take some of these guys that they might not necessarily see in their draft, right? So they can be confident in thinking, okay, do I need to wait until this guy comes around? I really want to take him. I don't want to miss out on him. If we're happy taking these guys there. And so even if you don't see that guy, you can kind of gauge where we're happy to take him in our drafts. Cause yeah, this is definitely, we've been in the weeds with these guys for a while, and not letting those double counts happen, I think, is a big piece of why this is happening for us, where we're kind of sticking to our guns here. And the reason why I'm still talking is because there's players at every single position that I could foresee myself taking here right now. I'm
Yes.
looking at like a Terrence Ferguson, who had an absolutely incredible combine. Joe, I see that look on your face as if you don't want me to take him because of your next pick. Jalen
Terrible
Milrow
at poker.
here
I'm terrible at
Jalen
at
poker.
two
Milrow.
at
Yeah.
210 here, the upside that he could present, obviously there's mad downside, but like you get 10 starts out of Jalen Milrow across his career, and he's probably worth this pick because of what he might give you in those. We got guys like Matthew Golden, who is getting steamed into first rounds. And I think
He's
there
gonna be
comes
in
a
the
point
first
where
round.
you just have to take a fucking shot on that guy,
Yeah.
right? I
He's
think right
going in the
now
first round. He's going in
you're
the first round of
drafting
the NFL
you're
draft.
drafting the 40. Like, you're
Yeah.
definitely drafting the 40, but I think he is the guy who maybe emulates the arc that we saw from Keon Coleman this past season, or even Xavier Leggett, if we want to get a little nastier on that. Sorry, Joe. Sorry. And then like we look at guys like Devin Neal, we got Ollie Gordon here. Like, where the fuck am I gonna go, guys?
It's hard. Take one
I
of them.
almost want to.
It's quite the filibuster. Come on, make the
Take
pick.
Wasn't
one of
it?
them.
I know. And
Stop
I
it.
just talked myself into a worse circle than I was in beforehand. I brought
TikTok.
in more names than I was thinking.
You can't
I
trade the pick, pal.
am going to go for the upside of Jalen Milrow.
It's a good pick. I almost took him. It's a great
I
pick.
think I think so. I just
Yeah.
think somebody is going to see him at number 2 on their depth chart, and the guy above them is going to stumble at some point, and Jalen Milrow is going to get some form of shot.
Yes.
You talked about it. Jalen Hurts got the exact same shot, and I don't think he's necessarily going to be Jalen Hurts because he'd have to have the perfect storm, but
Yep.
perfect storms happen. So I'm down for that at the 210.
It's a
Sorry, that
great
was a
pick.
long-winded one, but I kind
It's
of
a
just
great
wanted to
pick.
get some thought process about some names out there.
Yeah. All right. This is a complete process pick. I'm finally making a pick based on the combine at the position where the combine arguably matters most. And I am going to take Terrence Ferguson here because he posted a 9.81 relative athletic score, RAS. 6'5, 247 pounds. Check, check in terms of our tight ends, right? He ran a 4.63. That's fast for a tight end. 39-inch vert, 122-inch broad. That's good for a 127 burst score, which was the highest in this class, and a 107 speed score. Check, 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 check. Um, it's as simple as that. We're drafting athleticism at the end of the second round. I said how reluctant I was to take tight ends in the first round that I'm not completely sure on. In a deep class, right here, I feel like you're going to be able to land some of these, play to the depth of this tight end class late in the second through the, I don't know, probably late in the third, honestly.
Yeah. I probably should have taken Terrence Ferguson. I love Terrence Ferguson. You guys know I had Terrence Ferguson as my tight end 5 throughout not throughout, but up until the combine. And he goes out and, basically keeps himself right there for me. But I'm going to take my tight end 4. I'm not giving up hope on Harold Fannin Jr. Harold Fannin
Ooh.
Jr. will have a 8, just over an 8 relative athletic score, RAS score, right? His RAS is
Mm-hmm.
still good. He was pretty explosive. He's nimble. He looks so funny running. They were talking about his knees knocking together as he ran, and He looked terrible in the gauntlet. The only reason I'm still totally nervous is because I'm thinking that the combine and his showing at the combine and him being a small school guy, the NFL might just fade him. And if they fade him, that's where this pick doesn't feel so smart anymore. If he's a fourth, fifth round pick, you're like, what the fuck was I doing with Fannin at the 212? But if he gets some sort of third round capital, and we're still hoping that he can look, his utility in the NFL is as a pass catcher. So
Mhm.
whoever drafts him, I'm going to be like, well, let's try and put him in there to block. He's going to get in there with a chance to catch passes. And again, if he's good, which we are kind of confident that he's pretty fucking good because he just put up the best tight end season in the history of college football, then he pays off. And at the 212, with me already having Tyler Warren on this team in 1.75 premium, this team may have just won their second championship in a row if either of these guys hits. If both of them hit, just keep printing money. But I think it's worth a swing at some point with Fannin, and I'm willing to take it here.
Yeah, I think you're still showing that you're adjusting due to new information, because if the folks remember from our last draft that we did, Harold Fannin was at the 201, you took him. And so, this is still like a heavy adjustment with new information, but just still a little bit of conviction in your player at the back of the second round, which is not a
Yes.
terrible place to be taking those kind of shots, right?
Right.
I like it. I thought it was interesting that our name swap players just went at 211 and 212 there. Harold Fannin, he of the very white name. And Terrence Ferguson is a guy who I just found out was white when I watched the combine on Saturday, or on Friday. So interesting that those guys who could honestly swap names and I would not know the difference.
That's great.
Went back to back in this draft. So on that, before I get into this third round, which we're going to rapid fire a little bit, although I might pat us on the back for making a pretty good time at this point in the draft, fellas. Anybody who's listening, please make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel where you might be watching this. Or, of course, if you're on the audio channels, make sure you follow us there. Leave a comment, leave a review. That really, really helps us. That helps other people see that people are engaging with our work. So we really appreciate that. And go check out the Patreon, patreon.com/theundroppables. Just revamped those tiers. We've got some new, fresh content coming to you. A bunch of stuff courtesy of this triumvirate that you can see on the screen right here. That's a massive vocab word for me, triumvirate. But yeah, please check it out, because we've got just some fresh blood, some fresh content, some fresh excitement around the content. And I think I can speak for the other two on the show here when I say that we are having a good time doing it. So
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
thank you to everybody that
Amen.
supports and checks our stuff out. But with the 301, guys, I am going to take the shot on a player that I am not necessarily that confident in, but I am going to go Matthew Golden. I don't think he's going to be available in most of your rookie drafts, but I
Never.
think this is definitely an indictment on how we feel about him and maybe how you should feel about him in your drafts. Like, there comes a time where a first round NFL draft wide receiver becomes worth it. And in the 301, I think is definitely that, because if he lands in the right place and he does have some dynamic skill set, he could be used nicely. But, what do you guys think about that? Is that somewhere where you would have gone at this point in the draft?
Yeah, this is where I landed Xavier Leggett a couple times last year, just because as much as you guys make fun of me for liking him, I was aware of the flaws, and he was still a first round pick. And right here is like a great place to get one. I don't think Golden's going to fall that far. I
No,
think
no.
he's in kind of like, Jax, you compared him to Henry Ruggs. I mean, I'm just lazier in my comp, but I'm going to Adonai Mitchell,
Yeah.
guy who ran the 4.3s, played at Texas a year before, transferred to Texas, incidentally, from it was from Alabama, right? Alabama or
Those are the
Georgia? I
those
don't
are the
know.
comps right there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the film bros love him.
Yep.
The draft, he's supposed to get good draft capital, though Adonai ended up falling well into the second round of the real NFL draft, where people were projecting to go in the first round. And honestly, his tape, frankly, looked better than Golden's, in my opinion. But a 4.3 is a 4.3, and someone's going to fall in love with it. We're going to repeat it. We said it last week. I think we've been saying it all off season. This is the trap. Don't fall for it. But if he falls to the third round of your rookie
Oh,
draft,
no,
yes, go
absolutely. It's
ahead.
worth it. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking
Adonai
about it
was Adonai was Georgia.
where I took
Sorry.
Georgia, not
Noel.
Alabama. Thank you.
Yeah, where I took Noel, I was thinking about taking him there because at some point he has value. Um, and I'm ready to be wrong on Matthew Golden. I just will tell you that, based off of the data, he's more of an outlier.
Yeah.
And to some degree, we looked at like even Brian Thomas Jr. had some flaws, as a prospect. I looked at my, anatomy series, and of all the players in the top, whatever, 16 dynasty wide receivers right now, he has the lowest college target share or targets per route run was Brian Thomas Jr. So I mean, it was like, well, if he can't earn targets, maybe there's a problem. But as it turns out, he was just next to God on the other side of the football field in Malik Neighbors, and that's what suppressed his target rate. So, what's the story on Golden? I mean, you got to tell a different story. You got to say that Quinn Ewers is a complete shitbag. But the thing is that a lot of players have played with shitbags and still earn more targets, and so there's something to work out there. I'm going to watch the film on Matthew Golden. I'm going to try and see what everybody's seeing, and I'm not going to necessarily talk myself into it, but I'm going to try and just make sure I've got a really balanced approach with him because I'm with Joe and both you guys. I can't pull the trigger on a player like that has such a bad analytical profile. But go ahead, Joe. You're on the clock. I don't mean to filibuster.
Yeah, no problem. Just real quick. I mean, Matthew Golden, in terms of teammates, right? His first year in Houston, he was competing for targets with Tank Dell. He had another year in Houston, and I don't have it broken down in front of me right now, but then he transferred to Texas. Where obviously Bond and Helm were on the team. So I don't know. I don't think like the teammate score should really be all that high.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I just can't get over the fact that he didn't hit my minimum thresholds in targets and yards per route run. That's basically it. Not only that, yards per team pass attempt also not very
So
great.
bad.
He
Yeah.
checks a lot of other boxes, but ooh, I don't know. This is a projection based on the film, which
It's a
is where
projection.
you get into trouble.
Yep. That's a projection.
All right, so I was so busy, ready to shit on Matthew Golden that I forgot to think about my next pick. But I
Not
think
so
I know where
golden.
I'm going to go.
What are you going to do?
But I think I know what I'm going to do. I am. I almost said this is a guy.
This is a guy.
Here's a guy.
All right. This is a guy who helped himself quite a bit at the combine.
Oh boy,
Um,
he's stealing them from me. I hate him.
oh man, I love me some DJ Giddens, K State. He scored a 132 in terms of burst score. He had a 39.5-inch vertical and a 130-inch broad jump. So that's good for a 132 burst score. He weighed in at 212, which is bigger than I thought it was going to be. And then whenever you see that, you get a little nervous, like, all right, did they put on weight and are they not going to run as fast? No, he ran a 4.43, a 110 speed score. So 110 speed score, that's very good. Over a 130 plus burst score, that's very good. So then you go to his production profile. He was splitting carries with Dylan Edwards this last year. He still managed 1,343 rushing yards. He hit the 20 catch threshold. He scored 8 touchdowns. In 2023, he had 13 touchdowns. So he had really good production. And I had this guy in campus Canton and freaking loved him. So I've been a little bit reluctant. I didn't really need to analyze his film. I still need to go back and do that, but I was aware of him and had watched enough of him because I owned him in fantasy. And now I think it's wheels up. And to get a player this caliber in the third round, I think he's very much live for that 5 to 10 range and probably should be. Yeah, he's a second round fantasy talent for sure.
Yeah. I have him as player 19 in my rankings, and somehow he's here. But I also have player 18 available right now, and
I
I'm going
know.
to take him. And it was two guys back to back that are actually very similar in Bayshell Tootin and DJ Giddens. I think Bayshell Tootin has the better BMI. They're very similar, man. I would look up and down the stats for these two guys. I mean, Bayshell is 5'9", 206. Giddens is 6', 212. They both break the 200-pound threshold, but Bayshell does break the 30 BMI. Other than that, like they both jumped out of the building. They both ran fast. I mean, Tootin obviously was 4.32. I'm going to just take the speed. I'm going to take the traits here. I did hear Thor Nystrom on his show, and they were asking him, why he was maybe looked down as a prospect a little bit. And it sort of answered my question from last week, which was why or maybe I asked it with John Lobb, why his PFF
Mhm.
grade is so low? Because everything about him, like you look at all his metrics and it's like through the roof. And of course, I toot my own horn a little bit, but I was tooting my own horn on Bayshell Tootin on the show pre-combine, and then he goes out and kills it. So I feel pretty good about that. But I was wondering what's wrong with him. Thor Nystrom was talking about how he has ball security issues, which is like, well, that's the best possible thing he can have a problem with because it's fixable. It's like all you have to do is like be taught how to not fumble, like kind of easy. Pretty easy fix. So I'm really excited about Bayshell Tootin right here. And talk about upside swing of all upside swings. This is a guy that could change your whole fantasy outlook at the 303. Couldn't be more happy. You're right. I think both these guys are second round talents and probably will be going pretty close to your second round unless they land awfully.
All right.
Yeah.
So I got some takes on Tootin, and I got to get him off because I actually just watched his film. I was talking about RJ Harvey, watching him right after I watched Tootin and liking RJ Harvey way more. Obviously, we took RJ Harvey higher in this draft. Here's my thing. I just tweeted this a couple hours ago. Watching Bayshell Tootin tape is infuriating. He could be so much better. So many extra steps, so many indecisive cuts, so many unnecessary fakes. He's so close to being great, but he needs to be more judicious with his bag of tricks and learn when to just cut and go. That's as well as I can summarize it. He was driving me nuts. Um, this dude needs to make a cut and go. Like he fakes when it's not necessary. He fakes every time he cuts. He does a fake when there's no reason to do it. When there's nobody there, he's just like, I don't know if it's muscle memory or what. And I think that's why his grade is so low. He has these other weird cuts. Like it's always an extra step, but he has these other weird cuts where he cuts off of his inside foot so often, which is such a bizarre thing to see. I just don't know. My brain doesn't really know how to process it. Like you never see guys cut off their inside foot the way he does. And part of me thinks, shit, that's really freaking athletic, right? But
Right.
part of me thinks, why are you doing that? You like there's a more efficient way to do that. Right. And so I think the film grade is bad because of the extra steps, because of the wasted movements, and he's a little bit undecisive. That being said, holy cow, if this dude cleans that stuff up, I
Right.
mean, talk about guys who are different because he had so many long touchdowns, like so many times where he just got there. Like a lot of those long touchdowns were well blocked at the beginning. Then once he got to the second level, there's nobody to fake because he with his speed, he had the angle. He didn't need to fake anybody. So he's a perplexing prospect to me. And I love him and I hate him at the same time. I don't know what to do with him. This is probably an appropriate place for him in our
Yeah.
draft. This dude can be so much better, but he's just not. And I don't know if this stuff is fixable.
He's the perfect third round upside pick. Trav, who you got?
Yeah, no, I think just Tootin, I think, is the guy who has your Devon Achan upside in this draft for me as the running back who gets drafted later and pops. But I am going to change positions here. I think the guy that might be the pick might be Alec Ayamanor based on the draft capital that he gets, but that's not where I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the guy
Oh.
who I think fits better into today's NFL, who can be one of those slot mavens. And I'm going to go with Jalen Royals
Mm-hmm.
from Utah State. Ran a 4.42 didn't get a burst score because of what he did or what he didn't do, I guess is how we should say that. But yeah, 6'2", 205, really dynamic player. Saw some of that speed. I think he's going to be a good player in the NFL at a value in this rookie draft. A couple running backs on the board still, guys, but I'm going to go with Jalen Royals, which I think is very interesting because we were mentioning that we're not going to be taking wide receivers in this area of the draft, but some of them got to be taken. And these are some guys, it's like some choice guys, right? These are the choice guys that we still kind of like and didn't do anything to kind of bring themselves down as far as perception. So I think Jalen Royals is still a guy that I want on some of my teams, and I'm happy taking him here at the 304.
Yeah, agreed. Got no qualms with that pick. I think our last time I took him in the second round, and then I also mentioned that I probably should have taken this guy. And we need to figure out how to say his name, right? You say Ayamanor. I say Ayamaner. Jax, what's your pronunciation?
Alec Ayamanor.
I am
Yeah,
Manor. All right,
I am
all right,
Lenore.
all right, all right. Fine. I am not,
Fine.
but
Fine.
weighed in at 206, ran a 4.4, prototypical X-ish size, right? He shows up in big games. I'm just going to go ahead and take him because in reality, he's probably going to go before the Cinder rookie drafts, and we need to stay a little bit true to it. He's got some concerning stuff in his profile as well, but I like his tape better than I like Golden's.
He was right there for me next. I actually have him in a cluster with Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, and him.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually think, where do we take those guys? Mid second. So, if you would have taken those guys, maybe those other guys. I mean, if you take Elikai Manor in the mid second, maybe those other guys fall to us here, or whatever the case, and depending on your draft. So, yeah, it's still stories to be told with draft capital and landing spots, but I would have taken Manor there as well. I am going to stay with the running back position. Oh, I've got a cluster of 3 guys. I'm going to take one of them and hope one of them falls to me. I'm going to take Devin Neal. He ran
Mm.
Had a
shit.
feeling.
He was slow, whatever. He's still a good football player. I think he's still going to get drafted. I probably should have taken someone else, and we'll see if you guys take him, and I'll just take him next. I'll tell you who it was after you guys don't take him twice. But yeah, I'm going to take Devin Neal. You just got to keep taking running backs here. I think probably made the wrong pick, which means I'm going to fix my rankings right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think I might be taking the guy that you wanted there.
I know you
Um,
are.
Ollie Gordon. Ollie
Yeah.
Gordon, big back,
Damn
ran
it.
a 4.6 flat. Not great, but I think for his size, I think we can cut him a little bit of slack on that. Has pass catching chops. I think he has what it takes to carve out a role in the NFL and at the 307. Count it.
Oh, that sucks because I wanted to take Ollie.
Sorry,
I
not
think
sorry,
that's
Joe. Sorry, not
Yeah, I
sorry.
know. I know. I know. Well, fine. I'm just going to take the next guy on the board because that's what you do here. We are checking boxes. And the next guy on my board at the running back position is Damian Martinez.
That's who I was going to
Uh,
take.
yeah,
Great pick.
exactly. So he weighed in at 217. We like that. 5'11. We like that. Speed score of 105, basically, and a burst score of 121. Both respectable numbers. Neither are elite numbers, but at his size, that's going to work. So um, I think I already said it, right? At this point in the draft, we're just taking swings at the guys who are left in the next tier of running backs because, like, if he was in last year's class, he's probably a second round pick, you know?
Yeah. I literally have these
Don't do
guys
it.
at 28, 29, and 30 in
Don't do
my
it.
in my rankings. So all 3 of them are right there.
Mm-hmm.
Martinez, Neal, and Ollie Gordon. Oh boy. What am I going to do? Did I pass on anybody? Like last time we looked back, I was like, wait, I forgot about so and so. I don't think I did.
Yeah, we got to pick this guy because we
Yeah,
forgot him.
yeah, exactly. It happens all the
I think
time.
that was Aya Manor last time.
Yes,
It
we did.
was.
Okay. I am going to draft. Who am I going to take? Oh my god. This
I
is
know.
another tier break, I
It's
think.
fucked. It's fucked.
This is another tier break. So
Yeah, I
right
think
here,
so too. Right here you go. 3.3.08, right?
yep,
3.09. That's where the tier break
Mhm.
is. It's really hard now.
2.0-ish and then 3.08-ish. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, draft capital and things like that could change it. There's another group of running backs that I have here. Um,
I got one that I like here. But anyways, you go ahead. It's your
Aim.
pick.
I am gonna take Jarquez Hunter.
Okay.
That's
Mm.
my sleeper running back. I'm gonna take Jarquez Hunter. Um, Auburn. Meh. What are you gonna do?
Was that
Meh.
did he take your guy, Joe?
No,
No,
he did not.
no.
Okay, okay. I am gonna stay with running back. Another dual threat. One that reminds us somewhat of one Tyrone Tracy from last year, and that would be Brashard Smith.
Yep.
Mm.
He took your guy though.
He Yeah,
No.
he had a good 40 at the combine, showed pretty well for himself. Sorry, I'm trying to pull the numbers up here. Not that way. Yeah, he had the third best 40 time behind Bashal Tootin and Jaden Blue, and I'm willing to take a shot on that at the back of the draft. This is where you want to draft these running backs with some upside because they probably will end up getting thrust into a spot. And I'm willing to bet that Brashard Smith gets thrust into that spot, much like one Tyrone Tracy did. I think those pass catching chops are going to be enough to make an NFL team bite in a place where we're still okay with biting in our rookie drafts. So there he is.
And clear winner of the Senior Bowl at the running back position as well.
Yeah.
That's not to be discounted. All right, guys, I'm really torn here because it's my last pick, and there are two guys that I'm thinking about, and they both fit really well into bits that I want to do. So there are good jokes in either direction, and the decision is tough, but I'm just gonna go with my heart here. This was supposed to be Gunnar Helm. This was supposed to be where Gunnar Helm goes.
It
I'm
was.
so upset because he sprained his ankle on his first 40 attempt. He finished the day at the combine, but ended up posting a 4.5 RAS. I think he would have done better there. I retweeted it. You can find it there, but yeah, you could see how his ankle blew up at the combine. And I think he would have hit some better thresholds, but we got what we got out of Gunnar Helm, and now we're just going to take him as a discount later in the draft because I still believe in the player. But I'm just going to stick with tight end.
You're gonna take
You
my
could
guy. I
say
can't believe
you,
I'm getting sniped.
you could say it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. That's for you, Trav. He didn't even it went right over his head. God damn it! I should have gone with the other joke.
I'm
Anyways, I'm
sorry.
taking
I'm
Luke
sorry.
Lachey.
Oh, Lucas.
Oh, dude. I didn't actually mean it when I said 98 Degrees was my favorite boy band. Are you kidding? I was absolutely an NSYNC guy. Absolutely an NSYNC guy. Are you kidding?
I didn't sing it. I already did the Samson thing. I
Oh
didn't have
my
to sing
god.
this one. Anyways, 8.69 RAS, 6'5, 251. That's all I really care about, guys. Again, we're just taking athleticism and firing shots at the tight end position.
So Sleeper doesn't have him in the list.
Well,
So
that's
I'm just
okay.
I'm gonna give you
Okay, because I told
Oronde
everybody it was a
Gadsden.
joke.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna give you Oronde Gadsden
No, that's
instead
what
of
I'm taking.
him.
All
Oh
right, fine.
shit.
Forget
Okay.
about
Never
forget
mind.
about
Never
forget
mind.
about him. Let's go with the other joke. Let's go with the other joke.
Yeah, go with the other joke. Let's do it.
Okay, sorry. I'm searching his name and there's nothing coming up.
No, that's fine. I'm gonna take Jaquavius Marks.
No, don't. All right, fine. Fine.
What are you
It's
talking
also
about? I
not going to
actually
be able to find Joe Quavius.
just try Woody. I
Oh, okay.
actually
Woody Marks. Woody Marks is the
yeah.
guy whose fucking name is dope. It's Joe Quavius, and he goes by Woody.
Yeah,
Right.
There's
yeah.
got to be a story behind that, so fair enough. But I think it's a terrible move. It's a terrible PR move.
I actually kind of like Woody Marks, and I believe I talked about him either last week or the week before. But I had him kind of, when I watched this film, I was like, dude, this guy should be like a top 10 pick. And then I just kept finding running backs I like more than him. I think he's kind of firmly in the 15 range, which I haven't counted how many running backs have gone off the board, but he just kind of does everything right. He's kind of like a James Robinson-esque player from that rookie year, and so I think he's going to be a perfectly fine pick, and maybe he'll find himself in a better situation. We'll see.
I think Taj Brooks is an okay pick. I think Trevor Etienne's an okay pick. I think Rocket Sanders is an okay pick right around
Mhm.
here as well. I will take Oronde Gadsden though, because he did kind of show up at this at the combine, and I think he's athletic. It's possible he's not a tight end at all, and he's just a slot player. I don't even know exactly what the hell he is. It's probably a wasted pick. So I mean, but I think I mentioned the other running backs I would take, whether it be, you could talk me into Tyler Shuck here. This is crazy. This kid's a 7th year senior,
You mean
and
Brandon Whedon?
yeah, dude. And they're talking him up on all these shows now. And like, oh my God, he carried himself so well. And I mean,
Yeah.
geez, look at the arm and the spin. It's like, dude, he's had 7 years to show you if he's any good. Hasn't done it except for 1 year, kind of good. And we're ready to draft. I mean, it's just kind of crazy. But look, if that's going to be the case, if he's going to get some draft capital and people think he's good, maybe he's worth a pick. I don't really know. Probably should take Rocket Sanders though instead of Aronde Gadsden actually, but at this point it's like whatever running back actually lands in a spot that you can imagine them playing, that's the
Mhm.
running back I want. Whether it's Jordan James or Taj Brooks is actually pretty good. Give me Taj
LaQuint
Brooks
Allen?
instead. LaQuint Allen's a compiler, I think. He's
Yeah.
too skinny.
I need to give you Taj Brooks because this team right here went all in on the 1.75 tight end premium format with Tyler
That's so
Warren,
good.
Harold Fannin, and,
And
what
Oronde
do we
Gadsden.
wanna change that
Yeah, no,
or
leave that. That's the
yeah,
way to
okay,
go.
we're leaving
Yeah,
that.
no, that's the way to go. Yeah,
That's beautiful. All
yep,
yellows right there. I like it,
Yeah.
boys. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. Go ahead,
yep.
Joe.
No, I was just gonna say LaQuint Allen. I obviously would have liked to have seen him run because he weighed in at 204. Burst score was underwhelming. I just don't know how to feel about him yet, but we'll know more after his pro day.
Totally, totally. Joe, I know you had a couple of guys that were RIP players. So was there any that we didn't cover on this one here that you might want to throw out there that are dead to us at this point?
Well, I would have said Gunnar Helm, except for we've got the ankle excuse, so we're gonna give him a pass. I would say Tez Johnson
Oh,
at
Mm,
Tiny Tez. Yeah.
154
Pour one
at
out.
154 pounds, running a
Pour one out.
4.51 is DEAD dead to me. A speed score of 74. Are you kidding me? No, thank you.
He did.
Uh, yeah, exactly. In that same vein, not that these guys really mattered that much, anyways, for fantasy purposes, but Josh Kelly also just did not get there. Ran a 4.7. That's the minimum. That's the threshold you can't fall below, right?
don't
Marcus
forget
Yarns.
I was gonna say
Marcus,
that was my guy to say Marcus Yarns for sure, because he was 26.9 BMI coming from Delaware. Get the fuck out of here.
yeah. He
Get the
just
fuck
needed to be
yeah.
faster. He needed to be bigger. He's neither.
Yeah.
Let's
He ran
see.
a 4.45, but you're right. That's still a 98 speed score. Not good enough. Just not good
At,
enough anywhere.
yeah, at his size, not good enough. So
Exactly.
I would say that's it. Honestly, most of these guys acquitted themselves pretty well, but seeing, I don't know. Tez Johnson's the big one. He's another guy
Oh,
who's going
Ricky.
to, huh?
Yeah,
Ricky
Oh
in a
no.
like
4.61.
First of all, Ricardo Blanco is doing just fine. He ran a
Okay.
4.61. That's good enough. All right. There's still a
Okay.
path. He's going to do it through special teams.
I was
We'll
gonna
hear
say, there's still a path for him to be a punt returner for sure.
Well, dude, hey, this guy blocked 4 punts in his college career, right?
I'm
You
That's
saying
put
dope.
some respect on his name.
Some
Ricardo
respect
Blanco.
on his name.
Ricardo Blanco, sir.
I can get with it.
Very good. Yeah, no, I'm down. I hope it happens. Absolutely. I hope it happens. Yeah, I'll just throw out another guy that I would be targeting as we move into this fourth round, which we're not going to absolutely not going to be doing on this show.
No.
I really liked the combine of one Ty Felton. I dropped his name last week, and I'm happy I
Yeah.
got his name out before the combine because I think he ran a 4.37.
Yep.
Looked really good, had great size. I think he did well in the interviews as well. Really kind of saw some clips and he looked like he had a good head on his shoulders and he really kind of thought, in depth about the game. So Ty Felton's a guy who I'm going to be targeting in the late rounds for a wide receiver. I'm kind of going way against this grain here with us saying that you don't want these wide receivers. There's just a couple guys that I kind of like. And with 32 teams across the NFL, 3 wide receivers starting on our teams for the most part, and all those flexes, I don't mind taking that shot because this running back well dried up pretty quick, boys.
Yeah, I'll just say as an aside, last year we had a record 8 wide receivers break the 4.4 mark in the 40-yard dash, and this year we had 8 wide receivers break the 4.4 mark in the 40-yard dash. So that's kind of interesting just because like last year was such a big deal and now it's not a big deal at all. I didn't even see anybody mention it. I had to count it myself because I was blown away by that. And so I don't know. I'm just starting to think more and more that these guys are training and scheming and rigging this combine, so it's becoming less and less valuable,
Mhm.
and less important, particularly for again the positions we've talked about, like wide receiver, where we just don't think it matters as much then as it does for like tight end and running back. So just a general note, something to keep an eye on.
And that reminds me of a guy, actually, just kind of the last name before we fly out of here, who did get a sub 4.40, but Isaiah Bond was not drafted in this draft. He came in saying he's gonna beat Xavier Worthy and run like a 4.19 or something, and I think he lost in the fact that you can't be saying that shit and not running in like the low 4.3s or something. You know what I mean?
And
Originally, when I saw him
yeah,
run, it was like a 4.41 on the unofficial time, so that was even worse. So now seeing the official is a 4.39 will cut him a little bit of slack, but when he's up over 4.4 and he was calling for a 4.19, I feel like that's kind of a bad look. But anyway,
totally. And he was his claim to fame is speed. It was like, oh, at least he's going to be
yeah.
fast. It's like, no, he didn't do that. So yeah, pour one all the way out for Isaiah Bond.
By the way,
And
he's the Texas wide receiver that transferred from Alabama. That's who I was getting
that's right.
confused
Yes,
with.
That's right,
that's right.
Isaiah Bond. I
That's
didn't want to
right.
correct you on the show.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
It's okay.
Okay, fellas. Well, that was a good time. That was a really good time. Please, anybody listening, go check out the Discord that's going to be free soon. Check out the social media for when that's going to happen. We will be dropping this on the YouTube channel and on your favorite audio platforms. And then patreon.com/the undroppables. You're going to see us promoting that a lot more because we're going to be putting a lot more blood, sweat, and tears into the products that you receive in those Patreon tiers. So that's going to be kind of a meat and potatoes for some of our content. So please go check it out. The Discord, the Patreon, everything is bumping right now. Uncovered_NFL is our other YouTube channel following your team, getting coverage about your team from a real NFL perspective. So yeah, big things coming for the Undroppables, and I couldn't be happier to do it with the team that we've got. So for Jax Falcone, for Mr. Joe Quavius Kuvatakis, I am Trav. Have a good week, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.